Yarnivores and Spiderettes, Fiber Spider back again with another tutorial just for you. And today I'm going to show you how to crochet this Tunisian lace. It's a shell lace. It's so lovely, so easy, and so scrumptious. Couldn't wait to show you guys. This is just a swatch that I was working on. It's really, really simple. It's just 2 rows repeated over and over and over. And I love the look. And the back is just as nice as the front. It's super lacy, super easy. You just need a Tunisian crochet hook. Really quite simple. Now for this piece, I used Vanna's Choice, and I used a size K 6.5 millimeter hook because this is a worsted weight yarn. Now for today's tutorial, I'm going to be using a little bit thinner. This is Pound of Love, and I'm going to be using a size J 6 millimeter hook. And because it's just a smidge thinner, even though they're both, weight of 4 yarns, not all 4s are created equal, I'm sure you know. So, without further ado, let's get started. Alrighty, so to get started, we of course are going to need a slip knot. Now, for those of you that are not familiar with Tunisian crochet, I do have some other videos covering the basics. So, after we have our slip knot, we need a chain that is a multiple of 4 plus 1. So I'm going to do 13 total. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 for my multiple of 4, and then one more. Just add it right on there. And then we need to pull up the loops through the chain. Now, there are a number of different ways that you can do this. Of course, you're not going into that first chain. You're going into the second one from the hook. You can bring up this top loop, or if you want a bit of a cleaner edge, you can go in through the back bump right here, which is a little bit trickier to get into, but it is a little bit worth it. So, got my 2 cast on, and I'm just going to cast on the rest of these. And then we do the return pass, and that is where the laciness starts. And also this gives it a little bit of a cleaner edge by going in through the back bump. But I always say, you know what? Whatever works for you, to each their own, and that I am not by any means the end-all, be-all as far as what to do. I just try to point you in the right direction based on what I know, based on my experience, and go from there. And I'm having issues with this one. There we go. And I just need 2 more. Damn it. Thing is, I'm right now using a double-ended hook. It's really long, so it's kind of getting in my way just a little bit as I'm filming here. But that's okay. And this last one. All right, so I should have 13. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and 13. Spiffy digs. Okay, so we are now going to do the return pass. Okay. Alrighty, so we have our 13 loops, or, a multiple of 4 plus 1. Now, also, I just swapped out my hooks. because I think this will be a little bit easier. All right, so, but it's the same size hook. So now to start on the return pass, now typically you would chain 1 and start on your return pass for the, standard Tunisian crocheting. However, we are going to chain 3. So instead of just 1, we're going to, in that first loop, chain 1 and 2 and 3. And this will make more sense as we go on. All right, so now to create those shells, we're going to pull through 5 of these loops in total, this first one included. Okay, so yarning over and pulling through 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You want to be careful of making sure that you get all of them on there. Okay. Then we need to seal the cluster with a chain. And then chain 3 more times. So that first chain counts as sort of a sealing of the cluster. And then chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. Okay. And then we need to pull through 5 again. So it's going to be these 5 right here because that first one on the hook counts. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. And see, you still have 5 loops left on your hook. And we need to seal this cluster. So pull through that like so, seals that up, and then chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and then pull through all 5 loops on your hook. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so we have, as a result, 3 cute little clusters. But we need to seal this one in order to finish the row. Alrighty. So then we need to cast our stitches back on for the casting on pass. So to do that, we're going to go into that little itty bitty loop that we created when we sealed our cluster. And then picking up a loop into each of these 3 chains. Now, again, you can go into this front loop, you can go into the back loop, you can do really whatever. For this return pass, I like to go into the top loop. That's just me personally. But whatever you find gives you the look that you're going for, and whatever's easiest for you, great. Just as long as you have 3 pickups in between your clusters, okay? And then we need to pick up that itty bitty little loop that was holding our cluster together. And then picking up 1 in each of these 3 chains. So that's 1 and 2 and 3. And then again, the little loop that was holding our cluster together. And then we reach the end. So again, we need to go into our chains, picking up a loop in each. So that's 1, and then 2. Now on the last chain, I like to go through 2 loops because I think it makes it look a little bit neater and a little bit more secure. So you can see I'm going through 2 loops on the very last chain. And we should have a total of 13 again. So that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and 13. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. And that is the casting on pass. So I'm going to do a bunch more of these repeats to show you just how simple it is, also to make sure that you guys really get it, because you know I like to be thorough. Alrighty, so we're going to keep on going. Okay. Alrighty, so to do the return pass, again, we need to do a total of chaining 3 at the beginning. So that's 1 and 2 and 3. Amen. There we go. And then we need to create our first cluster. So that's pulling through 5 loops. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then we need to seal the cluster by pulling through a loop and then chain 3. 1, 2, 3. You could say it's chaining of 4, but that first one really is more of its own entity. So after we're done with our chains, we have to pull through 5 loops again. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So you should have 5 loops left on your hook. All right, got to seal this cluster. So chain 1, like so, and then chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. And then to do this cluster, pull through 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then seal the cluster. And then to do the next row, going in through the sealing loop, pull up a loop right there, and then 1 in each of the next 3 chains. So that's 1 and 2 and 3. Then into the sealing loop of our cluster, pull up a loop, then into each of these 3 chains, pulling up a loop. That's 1 and 2 and 3. Then into the loop sealing the cluster, pull up a loop, and then at the very end, these 3 chains, pulling up a loop in 1 and 2. And then the very last loop, as I said, I like to go through 2 loops. Makes it a bit neater. All right. And again, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and 13. Haha. Okay. So again, on the back pass, chain up 3. That's 1 and 2 and 3. And then pull through 5 loops total. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. Do a sealing loop. And then chain up 3. 1, 2, and 3. Then pull through 5 loops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Do a sealing loop. Chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. Then pull through all 5 loops. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then do a sealing loop. That pretty? Absolutely love it. And of course, if you want more shells, you can do more repeats of 4. I only did 3 increments of 4, so I've got 3 shells. But, you know, you can make this piece as wide or as narrow as you want, which is, well, rather convenient. All right, let's keep going. Alrighty, let's keep at it, shall we? So, again, for the next pass over, we're going to go underneath that little loop that sealed our shell there, and then into each of the next 3 chains, pulling up a loop, like so, then into the sealing loop of the shell, and then into each of the 3 chains in between our shells, pulling up a loop. Now, I know that this is perhaps a little bit tricky because it's not your typical Tunisian crocheting, so I would really suggest watch this first and then give it a go so that you can see the mechanics before trying to learn them as you're doing them simultaneously. Just from personal experience, I do recommend that. So then I'm going into this little joining loop and then into the next 3 chains, pulling up a loop. 1 and 2, and then the very last chain pulling through, going through 2 loops at the very end. All right. And then we'll do another back pass. So that's chaining up a 3, 1 and 2 and 3, and then pulling through 5 loops, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, do a sealing loop, then pull through 5 again. Oh, nope, sorry, I almost made a boo-boo. So after doing the sealing loop, which I just did, the sealing loop, chain 3, excuse me, 1, 2, and 3. Now I pull through 5, pardon me. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, do a sealing loop, chain 3, which is 1 and 2 and 3, then pull through 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then another sealing loop. Ta-da! It's so pretty. I love it. All right, and I'm going to show you how you can finish this off with your cast off. Okay. Alrighty, so when you're done with your piece, now this is a little bit, like I said, it's a little bit different than your typical, Afghan stitch. So that being said, I'm going to show you how you can do a nice bind off. So going in to that little loop there, that first little capturing loop, I can do this. There we go. So through that loop, and you don't want to be too tight with this either. So after going in through that loop, you then bring that loop through your first loop, like so. Okay, then continuing on in the same fashion, going in through your chains. So that's through the chain, and then through the previous loop, and then through 2 more chains. So through the chain, and then through that previous loop, through the next chain, and through that loop. And then we've got another capture loop. So through the capture loop, and it helps to bring it up a little, so that it's not too stiff or tense. All right, so we went through the capture loop, and then we have to go through 3 chain loops. So that's through a chain loop, pull up that yarn, and then pull it through that loop. Then pull up a loop, pull through that loop, and one more. Pulling up that loop and through that loop, another capture loop. So pull up through and through, and then 3 more chains. So up and through, and up and through, and then one more at the very end, going through both of those little loops at the end. Up and through. Da, 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 da. And you have a really nice, neat bind off at the top. And you have a nice, neat bind on at the bottom. Isn't that pretty? Oh, I hope you guys like this tutorial because you know I love doing this oh so very much. It brings me so much joy to show you how you can do new things every day in every way. And if you did like this tutorial, please give me a little thumbs up button down below. And also, I would love to hear your comments as always. You guys are great. And if you want to see more, please hit subscribe because I do try to post as often as I can, whether it's crocheting, knitting, audiobook narrations, or please visit my other YouTube channel, Fiber Spider Games, for rather cute, quirky, and sometimes horrific gameplay where I give my little commentaries. It's a lot of fun, and I could use all the support I can get. Much appreciated. So until next time, I want all of you to stay inspired, stay caffeinated, and above all, stay stitching. I love you guys, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.